Councillor Lovell.
Hello.
And Councillor Newell.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll hand over to you.
Mayor. Yes, we've got Director Legal and Governance Services Matthew Grimsey, Director Community Services Rebecca Stevenson, Director Infrastructure Services and Acting Director Environment and Development Services Lockie Krenz, and also Executive Assistant Sandy Rustell and Manager Finance and Information Services Tracy Hankin.
Thank you. 2, non-attendance. No apologies. Leave of absence. Absent. Number 3, declarations of interest.
Yes, I do, Mayor.
Okay.
Item 9.005/22.
Thank you. And I also do item number 20.037/22. Confirmation of minutes. 4.006/22. Do I have a councillor to move the minutes confirmed for the ordinary meeting of council on Wednesday the 18th of May and the special meeting of council Wednesday the 15th of June? Councillor O'May and Councillor Clark. Do any councillors wish to report any changes? I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. In the chambers, that is Clark, Doyle, Prince and O'May. And on the line?
Yes, Mayor. Yes, Mayor.
That's all in favour and the motion is carried. 5, legislative items. General Manager, are there any legislative items?
Is there Mayor? So yes, we're tabling the Code of Conduct Determination Report. So on Wednesday, Friday the 3rd of June 2022, the General Manager received a Code of Conduct Panel Determination Report made pursuant to Section 28Z of the Local Government Act 1993 in relation to a complaint made by Patrick Singh and Brian Miller against Councillors Enders, Doyle, Newell and Campbell as the General Manager's recruitment panel. The complaint was lodged on 1 November 2021. It is noted that following the resignations of Councillors Enders and Campbell, the complaint continued only against Councillors Doyle and Newell. Section 28ZK4 provides, if the General Manager receives a determination report but no addendum, the General Manager is to ensure that a copy of the determination report is included within an item on the agenda for the first meeting of the relevant council at which it is practical to do so and which is open to the public. The determination includes an addendum and Section 28ZK5 provides, if the General Manager receives a determination report and also an addendum, the General Manager is to ensure that a copy of the determination report without the addendum is included within an item on the agenda for the first meeting of the relevant council at which it is practical to do so and which is open to public, and that a copy of the determination report with the addendum is included within an item on the agenda for the first meeting of the relevant council at which it is practical to do so and which is closed to public. The determination report is tabled and included as an attachment to this item. The addendum will be tabled in closed council.
Thank you. 6, urgent matters. General Manager, are there any urgent matters? No. Announcements. Do we have any announcements?
Yeah, so I think all my fellow councillors will already be aware of this, but I'd just like to announce that my wife and I are expecting our 3rd child, if everything goes well, in December, which I'm very, very excited about. However, with that, I've had, and having known this for a while, I've taken the time to sort of think what 3 kids would mean in my life and that I would like to prioritise being a father and a husband. And so I've made the decision that I will not run again in the October council election.
Thanks for letting us know, Rob. Thank you. You've got some announcements? Yes.
Director.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Two announcements from me. The first one is just for the purpose of COVID-19 public health emergency update. The state government has announced that from 30 June 2022, the transition will commence out of the COVID-19 public health emergency declaration. Council will continue to comply with public health orders and directions during this time. The holding of council meetings during the COVID-19 emergency period, which includes specific provisions for limiting or exclusion of the public from attending council meetings, alternative provisions for public questions in those circumstances, and holding meetings by remote attendance, provision of live stream of meetings is currently governed under notice issued by the Minister under the COVID-19 Disease Emergency Miscellaneous Provisions Act 2020. Additional notices also apply to the dealing with applications and assignment of electronic signatures. Under the Act, any notices issued will remain in force for a period after the emergency cessation day to allow transition to normal practice to occur. The Government has yet to announce that date, but it is also expected to consider some legislative changes to continue some flexibility to allow councils to deal with future pandemic-type circumstances. In the meantime, the Council will review its audio recording of Council meetings policy to include specific provisions around video live streaming of Council meetings and the manner of taking of public questions prior to the Council meeting to continue a broader access to Council meetings given the investment made during the COVID period. A report will be brought to the July meeting for Council to consider those. A further update is on the 2022 local government elections. The Tasmanian Electoral Commission has announced a timetable for the 2022 council elections with the following key dates. Notice of election to be published Saturday 3 September. Electoral rolls will close at 6 p.m. Thursday 8 September. The nomination period will be 5 September to 19 September. Ballot material will be posted to electors from 3 to 7 October. Polling period will be 3 to 25 October, with results released as available 26 October to 2 November. For the first time, voting at the elections will be compulsory, with the ballot continuing obviously to be undertaken by mail. Options to vote in person will also be available at the council offices during the election period. The council webpage will be updated shortly to reflect the timetable and enrolment options, and further media will also be issued from both the Tasmanian Electoral Commission and council.
Thank you. Do we have any other? No? Okay, I have a couple. I'd just like to read out that the General Manager and I met the doctors, staff and community member on Thursday the 16th of June at the Dover Medical Centre. Ms Headaway was informed at that meeting that the General Manager and I would not be able to attend the public meeting that was on the 21st of June 2022 at the Dover School. We have this afternoon at 3:30 received the notes taken from that meeting, and Council will now review the actions requested. I have another. At the ordinary meeting of the 27th of April 2022, I made an announcement to correct a statement made by former Councillor Campbell, made in her resignation letter, that I was previously advised as a recruitment panel member of the relationship of the consultant and the now General Manager on the 24th of May 2021. This was simply not correct. I also referred to a letter submission written by Mr Pat Sins and Mr Brian Miller, dated the 4th of April 2022, to the Code of Conduct panel that referred to that letter and particularly the alleged knowledge of the 24th of May 2021. The letter of the 4th of April 2022 made to the Code of Conduct panel was based purely on the incorrect statement made by former Councillor Campbell, without any supporting evidence as to the truth of the statement. As a result of that letter, both myself and Councillor Newell were asked by the Code of Conduct panel to provide a response. At the April meeting, I also announced that the letter dated the 4th of April 2022 from Mr Pat Sins and Mr Brian Miller stated that I had lied by admission is truly totally untrue, and I found it offensive. Mr Sins, at the ordinary meeting of the 18th of May 2022, raised concern that this was a misleading statement on the bias, that they did not accuse me of lying by admission. Rather, in their short letter to the Code of Conduct panel, they stated 3 times that any adverse conclusions that might be drawn would only be the case if the assertions made by former Councillor Campbell were accurate. To the extent that my announcement at the meeting on the 27th of April 2022 may be taken to be misleading, I would like to clarify that the statement I was referring to was made as follows. If Councillor Campbell's assertions is accurate, it would also mean that Councillor Doyle and Councillor Newell knew that the information in the Edge Legal Report was inaccurate and did nothing to correct this. In other words, lied by admission. I maintain that any allegation made based on an inaccurate statement that I lied by admission is untrue and offensive to me. Okay. 8. Public participation, 8.1. Public question time. There was one question taken on notice from the May 18 council meeting from Mr Dan C regarding property zoning. It is included in the paperwork and can be found on the website and will be included in the minutes. 8.1.2, question on notice. There had been one question given on notice by Mr Aaron Bristow regarding property zoning and electric vehicles. As already mentioned, these questions and responses is included in the paperwork, can be found on the website and will be included in the minutes. 8.1.3, questions without notice. Via email, questions received via email before 12 noon today. There were a few questions received, and a summary is as following. Mr Mark Jessup regarding LPS zoning. Mr R Arthur regarding the General Manager's recruitment. Mr Jeff Swan, re public question time and leadership and culture training. And Mr Jerry White, re-waste. As mentioned, these questions and responses can be found on the website and will be included in the minutes. From the gallery, to those community members joining us in the gallery tonight who would like to ask a question. If you have a question as the chair, I will ask you to come forward to the microphone and identify yourself by name and area of where you live. To make things fair and equitable, you will have a limit of 2 questions per person. If you can please ask your first question, and then we'll go to the others in the gallery before returning for your second question, if time permits. We normally allocate 15 minutes for question time. All questions asked must be directed to me as the chairperson, and I will either A, answer the question or refer the question to another councillor or the General Manager. Every attempt will be made to provide an answer to your question. Debate on questions cannot be entered into. The Council cannot make decisions on issues that are raised at public question time. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and ask a question? Kathy? At the back there.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and thank you for your work with regards to the waste management strategy and all those others that have been involved in making the strategy. I commend you. My question is regarding the level of ambition and the effectiveness of action to achieve the 4 goals outlined in the waste strategy, the draft waste strategy 23-25. For example, Council's curbside contract is due to end and has been identified as an opportunity to drive behaviour change. Some goals can start to be actioned from the beginning of the new contract. Why do we need to wait until June 2024, Action 1.1.3, to investigate ways to incentivise lower waste generation for households through council policy, such as curbside bin size or collection frequency and corresponding fee schedule? If a resident needs a bin collected less often than others, they should be rewarded for producing less waste. That is, user pays and can start this financial year. Why do we need to wait until June 23 for Action 2.2.1 for a consultant report to investigate the feasibility of a curbside food organics, garden organics, FOGO service, when the strategy states, prior to the introduction of FOGO bins in Hobart, the average composition of the general waste bin was 61% FOGO. This proportion of waste type is typical for both urban and regional Australia, where there is no FOGO collection. It is likely that the Huon Valley curbside general waste has a similar composition, and that is stated in the strategy. The waste levy is said to provide an incentive to divert waste from landfill and funding for innovative waste and resource recovery initiatives. This cost will be passed on to users via the waste service charge paid as part of the rates and increased fees at the waste transfer station. Where are the strategies to make it easier for the community and reward them for diverting waste from landfill? The strategy states the establishment of a waste committee to provide a platform for communication with council could be a viable and valuable step in building trust and cooperation with community members, undertaking waste initiatives. Even when projects are outside the scope of council's work, we may be able to provide support in some way. Conversely, community members can provide alternative viewpoints and insights for council staff working on waste actions. Why is there no action to establish such a waste committee? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I pass that through to you, to the Director, if I may, please? Yeah. Yes.
I realise that. Yeah.
We might be able to give you some of those on notice, but yeah.
Yeah, sure, I'll answer that, and thank you for the question. Yeah, look, there is a bit there. So broadly, the timeframes of our strategy they're couched in the reality of dealing with the deficit of information that we've currently got, and we know that the community want us to communicate better with them, and we need to bring everyone along on that journey. We acknowledge there's many passionate people about waste management and avoidance in the community that are really keen to get started now, and our timeframe dates are aligned to end of financial year, year 1, year 2, year 3. So it doesn't mean that we're waiting until those dates. They're realistic dates for completion. So you asked about 1.1.3, which is incentivising the lower waste generation. So work to support that includes the waste audit, and that's similar for 2.2.1 around FOGO. We need to bridge this data deficit so that we can accurately explain to the community why we would be bringing on a new service, what the cost of that is, or what the savings related to that are, and what the environmental benefits are. So bring everyone, not just the converts already, along on that journey. And I think our timeframes are realistic to do just regard to the consultation that we think is appropriate for this. But work is actually well and truly underway. I guess I'd like to commend the work and diligence of our previous waste manager who's left council, but her commitment to getting the waste strategy up. We've now appointed a new waste manager, and his focus is very much, he's an accomplished project manager, and I think he's a really safe set of hands to actually get this stuff delivered. And I'm particularly excited about seeing some of these actions come to the fore, and there is innovative ideas that we're already progressing that will come through and will I hope be recognised and supported by the community. So to that end, there's also a proposed amendment included on the agenda tonight for the on the strategy agenda item to include the objective and the associated action to have the waste committee into the strategy. So that's being tabled tonight.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, and then after that one, yes, if you'd like to come through.
My name is Tony Munnings from Dover.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, council members, general public. My question is from the public meeting held in Dover on the 21st of June about the Dover Medical Centre. What steps has the council taken for the refurbishment of the Dover Medical Centre up until tonight?
Yep.
And will you please explain why the funding for Dover wasn't obtained when it was first promised over 18 months ago, the $1 million?
Okay. Yep, I can answer that. I can give you a timeline for that if you would, if you're happy with that.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Okay. On March 2021, there was an election commitment. On June 2021, there was a budget allocation. On July 21, fee proposal received from the architects. On August to September, the floor plans were developed. In August of 2021, the grant deed development commenced. October, the concepts were finalised. In November, a DA was lodged. In December, the final QS costings were received. In January, the DA was approved. In February 2022, the fee proposal received from architects to progress with the BA and the tender. March 2022, a draft grant deed received, version 1. April 2022, the architects and the builders surveyors commenced the BA process, delayed due to availability of architects. 13th of May 2022, the grant deed version 2 was signed by the Huon Valley Council. On the 16th of June 2022, a signed grant deed was received. And then, for the forecast, end of July, mid-August, documentation for the architectural is on completion. August to September will go out for tender. September, October, appoint a contractor, and December onwards, the construction will commence.
So my question was, why did it take 18 months to start signing the deed?
That is a state government question that you'll have to ask them.
But the money was there already allocated to the council.
From who?
From
Where?
the federal government.
No.
State government.
State government was an election promise.
Yes, that's correct.
But you don't get the money straight away.
Well, the Sailing Club applied for the same grant. They got the same grant and their building's already halfway built. So why did it take the council so long when a Sailing Club can just start? Like, why didn't the council get the money early and start early?
All right, okay. So that's probably, I'll get someone else that maybe might be able to answer that, but thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Through you, Mayor. There are two different projects here, Mr Munnings, and I think with the Sailing Club it does come down to the type of works that were being completed. So the development application process and the building application process for the Sailing Club is very different to the development application for the medical centre. What the acting mayor has explained is the election commitment was a commitment. It doesn't mean that that's when it was going to be paid at that election, at that first budget. The negotiation for the deed has been ongoing since those dates. Our work has continued. So the work has still been happening even though we haven't had a signed grant deed. The signed grant deed's now been done by the end of June and we are still progressing with the plans with the tender looking at this point August.
So do you think it would be, from my point of view, would it be advisable to keep the public, like, let them know
Yep.
what's going on? Because
Yep.
they haven't got a clue.
No.
And you know what's been going on over the last 6 months with the medical centre.
Yeah.
You've had doctors retire.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
like the
Yeah.
public just want to know
What's going on?
what is actually going on and when they're going to start. So
Thank you.
that's all the public want to know.
Thank you.
Acting Mayor,
Thanks
can I
very
just-
much.
Acting
Yes, yes.
On our website, just for the community, on the Have Your Say page is a project for the Dover Medical Centre. The timeline is outlined on that. It has been updated today to now include the tender timeline, which has been confirmed today. So that is available and will continue to be updated. There is a copy of the plans. So the first concept plans from the development application is on the website, has been on the website for a number of weeks. And it will continue to be updated as timelines are locked in closer to construction.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think most people know me, but my name's Malcolm Thomas from Deep Bay.
Thank you.
And my question regards the new planning scheme. What I would like to know is who decreed that affected property owners wanting a full explanation of how their properties will be affected and what it means to them would have to hire a consultant at their own expense to explain something that has not been initiated by them but has been forced on them. And the second part of the question, are all councillors and senior staff fully across the ramifications of the planning scheme and the various components, how it will affect people? And if they are, why do we need to hire consultants? Now, I do have another unrelated question,
Okay.
if you allow me time.
Yeah, at the
In
end,
due
yeah.
course.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for that. Can I pass that through from you through to the Director? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Malcolm. Look, no one at council has decreed that you must do that, hire a consultant, etc. It's been our recommendation that you seek professional advice if you feel you're being impacted either way under this new change. It has been, it is a state government project to apply the Tasmanian planning scheme across Tasmania, as they've outlined, and as council has done our best to explain. They have determined that the new scheme should be implemented first and prior to further local strategic planning and regional strategic planning, which council doesn't support, and is causing issues for us as well as our community, and that's an ongoing piece that's being taken up by LGAT and councils generally, including Huon Valley. So look, there's been no decree internally by council, but I think councillors and staff are well aware of the impost to this. We've certainly heard it loud and clear from the community, and we've relayed that to the Tasmanian planning scheme, as have our other peer councils as they've gone through this process and have had similar problems. And we will continue to speak out and speak the truth on that, including in the review of the state planning provisions, which are open at the moment and close at the end of July, which is an opportunity for, again, the community, and again, we've broadcast that this is an opportunity to have a say on the actual zone guidelines, the provisions of those zones until 1 July, and much of the feedback that we've heard from the community, as well as our own insights from going through this process, council will be relaying through to the state government on the suitability of those state planning provisions.
Thank you. Yeah, Amy? Yes? And then you, Mark.
Amy Robertson from Port Hewitt. Council's draft LPS proposes 2,661 LCZ, or Landscape Conservation Zone properties for the Huon Valley. Of the other Tasmanian councils with complete or in progress LPSs, community research finds the closest total number of LCZs is approximately 155 in the Derwent Valley Draft LPS. Can Council provide its community with some reasoning of what are landscape values, and in particular what that landscape values are being managed, conserved and protected in the Huon Valley, to help us understand how it believes Huon Valley landscape values differ so significantly from those in other Tasmanian councils?
Thank you, Amy, for that question. I can pass that through the General Manager to the Director.
I'll take that question on notice so that we can provide a fulsome answer.
Thank you. Okay. Mr Jessup, would you like to come?
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Firstly, congratulations on the waste strategy, by the way. It's an excellent piece of work to date. I understand that the Council is working with a very defective piece of planning legislation, and the process is something that you've had to inherit, and it's not a good process. Let me note that to start with. But given 466 representations in the Huon Council compared to an average of 50 in all other councils, as low as 12, as high as 115, I think, from memory, given over 3,000 titles being recommended for LCZ compared to just a handful, and in some of the Tas Planning Commission approved schemes, there have been 6 or 8. You know, that's the sort of numbers we're talking about by comparison. And given that it would appear that the Huon Valley's application of guideline number 1 is unique, to say the best, and not, in my view, based on my reading of the Commission's findings, what the Commission intends. Okay, let me make that statement. This is more a question about governance of the Council. So the AICD would suggest that councillors or board directors should make their own independent assessment and then collectively make an assessment. So my question, I take this will be one on notice to you, but I'm interested in knowing what councillors individually or collectively have done to independently inform themselves of the accuracy and validity of the Council's process. So some things, for example, might be independent peer review of some of the titles that the council staff have recommended, and a number of other councils have used independent peer review in their own LPS programs. It might be seeking professional reports, or it might be seeking direct advice from the Tas Planning Commission. Okay. So I'm just wondering on notice if you could ponder what independent advice you're taking, not reflecting deficiencies in the council advice, but we're obviously in one rabbit hole with council staff, but reading a number of the hearings and findings, there are quite a divergent range of interpretations of guideline number 1.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I will take that on notice with my fellow councillors, and yeah, if we can get back to you on that one. Okay, do we have anyone that has asked a question that wanted to, Tracy, wanted to ask a question? Yes, okay. Come forward.
I'm Archie Donnelly from Signet for Fix Huon Council. In the recent budget, $230,000 was cut from the Strategic Land Use Planning, a proposed rate increase of 36% compounded over 4 years, and the abandonment of the proposed $200,000 Strategic Reserve seed funding allocation. But it did include $150,000 allocated to a management program which appears to be a discretionary fund of the General Manager. When Councillor Prince asked for clarification on this expenditure, the reply was, and I'll quote, "Yeah, I guess, in basically we're delivering on our expectations of the community and the customer expectations. A large part of that is our staff, the experience that our staff as that our customers and the community experience is going to be about the culture that we have across the business, and enabling us to deliver on that means investing in our people. investing in our leaders to be able to ensure the values and the behaviours are going to make sure we've got the teams working well, everyone working well together and aligned, and you know that's the synergy of our business. And I think you can look at our staff ratio turnover and see that everything's not working as wonderfully as we would like at the present. And you know, ultimately, we haven't been investing in that area. So there's an opportunity for us to turn that around. And I know that over the past 3 or 4 years, management before me have been looking for this investment. So it's certainly not the first time that it's been presented to Council, and the plan to work through this process and come up with a leadership and culture program that's going to be able to enable our staff to deliver to the community and the customer expectations is a really important ingredient in our plan for the next year. As it seems, this sheds no light at all on the question that was asked. My question is, when rates are going up and people's incomes are falling further behind inflation, can the Council please give ratepayers a clearer explanation on how this $150,000 of the General Manager's discretionary fund will be spent, will in fact be spent?
It was a question that is also being answered from Mr. Jeffrey Swan, and the response that is up on the site now at the moment is that culture, behaviours, customs and ideas is the foundation of our ability to deliver on our strategic objectives and meet the increasing expectation of our community and our customers. Our leaders play a vital role in modelling our values and desired behaviours, and the planned leadership and cultural program will create a focus on constructive behaviours and coaching skills for all staff, beginning with our leaders. These constructive behaviours will focus on encouraging achievement of our organisational and community goals through people development, promotion of teamwork and synergy, and enhancing individual, groups and organisational ability and effectiveness. Thank you. So, do we have, I know we're coming out of time, but I think there's only 2 more people that have a question. Was there? Yep, I'll allow it tonight. See the first one when we're back in.
Thank you again, Madam
Thank
Mayor.
you.
The question relates to the recent rate increase and council staff and costs. Considering that we've just had a 5% rate increase, we've got a very large, I would suggest, blowout in our deficit. And I think that our staff increase, if I'm in wages, I believe is around 17%. Now that's pretty high compared to other councils, Kingborough and I think most other councils. Would the council be agreeable to or consider putting a moratorium on creating any new staff positions between now and the incoming council after the October elections, and also seriously consider whether or not any staff who leave need to be replaced to try and get our costs under control? Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think I might take that one on notice, mainly because I think that we need to probably come back to you with more than what I'm probably going to be able, unless you want to.
I'm certainly happy to respond in a sense, because what you will find... Oh, microphone's not working?
Yep, bring it up closer. Yep.
What we've got built into the budget is a combination of additional roles to support generation of revenue. So quite a significant part of it, which is what we look to tailor in the budget papers, and if David was here, I'm sure he'd be able to more succinctly describe it, is some additional labour in children's services, so some additional resources in that area, and then equally responding to some areas like the roads that are basically coming through to provide feedback, to provide a service delivery that is reflective of the feedback from the community. So what we would be doing is effectively putting on hold those things, which are often responding to the demands of what is a growing economy and a growing area for us. So putting the handbrake on would mean that we're going to get more concerns, more complaints, more issues around people being serviced. So that's largely what it is. I'm happy to explore a more detailed and structured position, which is also outlined in our budget paper that went up to the 15th of June. So if you have a look through there, you can see a breakdown of all of the additional resources and what we are delivering with that additional resource. By putting a handbrake on it, I mean, effectively, we're going to be 6 months behind delivering on all those promises.
Thank you. Okay. Amy, you have one more question?
The Tasmanian Planning Commission's decisions on a number of LPSs have indicated they do not agree with the application of landscape conservation zone to properties without the written agreement of property owners. For example, Tasman LPS Decision .194 and Southern Midlands Decision .75. Has Huon Valley Council sought the written agreement of property owners to rezone their land as LCZ, or does it plan to do this?
Thank you. I will pass that one through the General Manager to the Director.
Through you, Acting Mayor, thanks for the question. We have not sought that permission and don't intend to at this stage.
Thank you. Okay. That's the end of question time. Thank you, everybody. 8.2, deputation and addresses to General Manager. Do we have any deputations? Okay. Thank you. Okay. 9 is petition, so I believe that's your conflict. Thank you. We have the General Manager leaving the room.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just as a procedural matter, I'm tabling a petition which was lodged with Council 20 June 2022 as follows. Petition regarding terminating the appointment of the Huon Valley Council's General Manager. The petition contains 293 signatories and complies with the requirements of Section 57(2) of the Local Government Act 1993 and is included in the attachments. There is a recommendation which is simply a recommendation that the petition regarding terminating the appointment of the Huon Valley Council's, should be Huon Valley, not Vallet, Council's General Manager be received.
I refer councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Prince, a seconder. Councillor Newell or Councillor Lovell?
For the
Okay, so no discussion needed. Beg your pardon?
Through you, Mayor, to Mr. Grimsey, I believe we have to legally accept a petition. So in that case, I will second that motion.
Councillor Newell.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So then we just go to the. Yep. So, all those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
That's all those in chambers and 2 online. That's All in favour and it's passed. Planning Authority reports. The Mayor will advise that the Council is acting as a planning authority as at 6:46. Council acting as a planning authority. In accordance with the provisions of Part 2 Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulations 2015, the Council will now act as a planning authority pursuant to the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. In accordance with Regulation 25, the Council will act as a planning authority in respect to of those matters appearing under item 17 on this agenda, inclusive of any supplementary items. Okay. Agenda item 10.006/22, planning application for additional and alterations to an existing dwelling, 2 outbuildings, 4-bay open garage, shed, workshop with mezzanine, retrospective approval on site work, and additional vehicular access at 130 Winds Road, Signet. I'll refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Clark. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just briefly, as you know, Acting Mayor, we took a visit there the other day to have a look at this property, and because it's not very often that we do have to not recommend a development application, but and I did question why the alterations to the dwelling couldn't be provisionally approved. However, the result of that was that it's impossible to do that because it's part of the whole application. So that clarified that. And I do believe that what's in the recommendation there has been some work that hasn't been approved on that particular site. Engineering designs, etc., have to be put forward to council, and so in that instance, I do believe it's unfortunate, but yeah, I approve that we do not approve that recommendation, the permit.
Yep, lovely, thank you. Okay. Are there any questions from this? Are there no councillors to speak against the motion? Yes?
Can I just make a statement?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
Yes, Mayor. The way I understand it, the recommendation is to not approve this development in its current form. So I just totally agree that that is a fair call from the information that I've been provided. So I just guess that if it was presented in a different format, then it would be reconsidered. Is that correct?
That's something that I'd have to go through the director.
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor. We can only assess the development application that's in front of us, and absolutely, it's within the applicant's rights to come again. My understanding from the discussions we've had is that that's likely.
Yeah, well, I along with Councillor Clark, feel uneasy about knocking development applications, but at the end of the day, I think there's well and truly enough evidence being provided here to us that the council is taking the correct road here in their move forward. So that's all I've got to say, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Newell. No comment?
No, Mayor.
Councillor Lovell?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so I put the motion forward then. Those in, would you like to make any closing statement?
Thank you. No, Mayor.
Okay, so I'd like to put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all, and the motion is carried. Agenda item number 10.007/22, planning application DA 269/2021, 10 multiple dwelling units at 7404 Channel Highway, Cygnet, CT 177091-3. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor O'May. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Clark. Councillor O'May, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor. I think this is a well-deserved and well-needed proposition that we have in front of us here for the situation we have in our community with housing issues. From my reading of the presentation, it appears to be very well thought out. A lot of emphasis has been put on the wastewater disposal and stormwater facilities. I haven't heard any negative comments to me in regards to the proposal, so I just think it's a great proposition for the area.
Thank you. Is there any other councillor that has a statement or question? Yes, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yes, as I mentioned, we both went and had a look at this site the other day, and because I was very concerned about the watercourse and the dam that was on the property, which takes up a very large portion of that land. But I can see that the permit has actually taken care of that because the landowner has to ensure the watercourse area is constructed and maintained in accordance with the engineering design. So I think it's a very good development, and I do hope it proceeds fairly quickly because it may help with affordable housing in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any from Councillor Newell or Councillor Lovell?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Well, if that's the case then, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Oh, mark to close. Very sorry, Councillor O'May. Would you like to close?
No further comment, Mayor. I think we've covered it pretty well. And I'd also like to congratulate our staff on what appears to me to be a very thorough job, and well done.
Thank you. As Councillor Clark said, we did go down and have a look at this and have a look at the property, and I'm looking forward to seeing it built and being used. So well done to all concerned. Okay, so I put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand.
For, Mayor.
That's all present, and the motion is carried. I advise that the council is no longer acting as a planning authority as at Thank you. 11, general reports. We have the General Manager's operational report on my table of activities. Does any other councillor got theirs to table? We've got the Marine Facilities Development Advisory Committee meeting minutes, audit panel. We've got the Youth Working Group, the annual plan, 2021-2022 annual plan, third quarter report, Yuan Valley Council quick response, community grants, Taswater quarter, Taswater State of the Industry report, and the STCA board meeting. That's that can I have the recommendation that the reports and minutes for the period of 1st to the 31st of May 2022 be received and noted? Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the reports and minutes for the period of the 1st to the 31st of May be received and noted? Councillor O'May, and a seconder, Councillor Prince. Do you wish to speak on?
Yes, Mayor. Just in regards to the marine facilities development, a couple of meetings we got here, the minutes which have been disclosed. I'd just like to make a comment in regards to the professionalism of the group. There's a wealth of knowledge there, very dedicated, professional, experienced individuals, led by a very ambitious staff member who is very proficient in a job. We've kicked some big goals here in regards to the Dover boat ramp and the Signet Wharf, which is well underway of construction in a very good form, which will have a long period without having to have maintenance and be revisited. We've looked at different composites for the wharf building and jetty building, which are not susceptible to worms and all the other environmental factors which seem to be a problem that we have to keep revisiting and fixing things. So even though the Dover boat ramp has been a slow progression because we've had to deal with so many different landowners and hurdles in getting it up and running, runs are starting to get on the board down there now, and proof will be in the pudding. And yeah, I congratulate all those team members that I chair there and our group, and for their professionalism, and thank them very much. So that's all I've got to say there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just in reply or question I have there for the Senior on the Mast Advisory Committee, it was mentioned to me that the work that's been done on the car park area, not the car park area, the area that goes down to the boat ramp, that's been completed now, is that going to be actually surfaced, concreted? Because there's a worry that all the wash will actually wash that all away because it's all sloping down.
That's correct, Councillor Clark. It is progress which has slowly been gathering momentum. We have an extension to the wharf to be our next project, and once that stage has been completed, there's going to be signs and interpretation going up there to also persuade people not to be parking there and clogging up the boat ramp as well. And then the surfacing will be addressed so that it will not cause that sort of a conflict in the future.
If it doesn't wash away in the meantime. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're hoping that's not going to happen. But
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Prince.
Through you, Mayor, just wanted to comment on the youth working group meeting and their launch, the fantastic launch they had of their 12 to 24 program. And I just wanted to say to the General Manager and to Mitch, the staff member that runs the youth services, congratulations. I've had a fair bit to do with youth work and services in councils and schools over the last 7 or 8 years, and I think what you've got there is probably the best thing I've seen in a long time. It's revolutionary, it's going the right direction, and I suspect it's something you want to be showing off to all the other councils because they're going to want to adopt that model. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Prince. Okay, so Councillor Newell, Councillor Lovell.
Can I just speak on the audit panel?
Yes, you may.
Just wanted to say that I attended my first meeting with the members, and it was really interesting to see the work that for the year and all the areas that they cover. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that as well. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Newell, any comments?
No, Mayor,
Thank
thank you.
you. Okay. As there's no councillors to speak, yes? Would you like to close, Councillor O'May?
No further questions. I think we've got across it there pretty well. Thank you, Mayor. So I'll leave it up to you now. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
For me.
For Mayor.
That's all present, and the motion is carried. Councillor workshops. General Manager, would you like to read out the workshops that councillors have attended, please?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So on the 8th of June, a representative from Experience Co attended and provided a presentation to councillors on the South Coast Track and South East Cape development opportunities that were awarded through the Tasmanian Government Expression of Interest process. We also had a workshop on the caretaker policy as part of the now on hold review of the local government legislative framework, and approved reform was to require councils to adopt a policy regarding the making of major decisions in the lead up to an election so that the new council is not unreasonably bound by those decisions. This is generally referred to as an election period or caretaker policy. A draft election period and caretaker policy is included as an agenda item 15.015/22. We also had the annual plan, where the General Manager and the Director of Legal and Governance Services led a discussion on the draft annual plan for 22-23 financial year. On the 16th of June, the Office of the Valuer General attended and presented information regarding the valuations of all properties throughout the Huon Valley area to be distributed to all landowners on 30 June 2022. That was all. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. I think we need to correct the, excuse me, the agenda item. What is, we've got 15.015/22, which is the...
Yeah, so it should be 15.017/22, correct?
Yeah, all right. Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor questions. 13.1, questions taken on notice. Neil? 13.2, questions without notice. Do I have a councillor wishing to ask a question? Oh, Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, Mayor, can council staff provide a timeline for the release of the summary section 35 report and the Planning Commission hearing into the LPS? Will this provide sufficient time for the members of the community to prepare for the hearings?
Thank you. Can I go through the General Managers to the Director, please?
Through you, Acting Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor Prince. So Council has successfully applied for a 60-day extension to deliver our Section 35F report. That means we're now extended to October 3rd as the due date, and that accommodates our September council meeting for final consideration by elected members. We don't yet have guidance from the TPC on when the hearings are scheduled. Looking at their recent history, we're expecting ours is likely to be 4 months, at least 4 months after the submission of our Section 35F report. So our estimate at this time, what we're planning for, is that March 2023 would be the earliest that we would be conducting those, we'll be involved in those hearings.
Thank you, Director. We're up. Yep. 13.3. Councillors' notices of motions. Nil. Okay. 15.015 agenda item number, Geefton Town Hall Company Limited. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor O'May. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Clark. Councillor O'May, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Other than the fact that I think we're taking the correct course of action here, Mayor, I have no further comment.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or statements?
No, Mayor.
Councillor Lovell?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, and I have known there either, so this needs to happen, and it's good that it's going through. So, Councillor O'May, do you have any closing?
No, thank you, Mayor. It's all good.
Thank you. So, if there's, as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors, and the motion is carried. Yes.
Just through you, Acting Mayor, for noting that certainly the former directors of the company will be thanked for their service as well as part of this process. So it's not just simply being deregistered and walk away. Those have transitioned to the controlling authority anyway.
Thank you very much for that. Yes. The director stated that the directors that were on the Chieftain Town Hall Company will be thanked for their service, for what they've done in that time period. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item number 15.016/22, the Signet Caravan Park lease, expression of interest. I refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Clark. Seconder, Councillor O'May. Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you, Acting Mayor. Not anything to add to that, only just maybe a question that has the current lessee. Have we had any response at this time, or can you give me any information on that?
Okay, thank you. Through you, General Manager.
Ask the director.
Yes, through you, Mayor, to Councillor, Acting Deputy Mayor Clark. There has been an inquiry made, however, we need something formally from Council before we can actually make that approach to see if there is anything that will be or likely be accepted. So in the event that something is accepted, it will come back to Council. In the event that something isn't accepted, it will come back to Council, and there will have to be decisions made.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any other questions or statements to... Yes, Councillor O'May? Yes, I'll come to you next. Councillor Lovell?
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to, from my observations personally, I see that the proprietor has done a fair and reasonable job of running this caravan park, and this has been up before us before at Council, and it must be very disruptive to their operation to be having to resubmit all the time. But anyway, I would just like to put a positive note on the fact that these guys have been doing a good job down there, and I'd like to congratulate them for doing such in a period of time where there hasn't been much tourism around, and everybody's not been doing it so easy. So congratulations to the Gardens, and yeah, I look forward to seeing them in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Lovell?
I just had a question, Acting Mayor, through you. Quite COVID, didn't they? And should we be doing them again now that it's sort of easing off a bit?
Did you catch that?
Yes, I think I caught that. Just clarifying that just because it's going through a particular COVID period, is there an opportunity for an expression of interest probably in a nearer future when things pick up? That may well be possible and may well be the outcome of following discussions with the current lessee. It's certainly difficult because we have a very aged facility. A lot of the assets currently on the site are owned by the current lessee. There's a lot of investment, and we do not have the market research which can actually support the drive for that. So it does make some difficulty in marketing and expression of interest in that context. However, it may be a discussion council has at a future meeting.
Thank you very much, Director. Does that answer your...
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Newell?
No questions, Mayor. I'm happy with the tender process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark, do you have any closing?
Thank you, no, Mayor.
Okay, so as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
All Mayor.
All Mayor.
Okay, that's all present and the motion is carried. Agenda item 15.017/22, election and caretaker period policy. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Prince. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'May. Councillor Prince, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I remember having a chat with the former Mayor about the idea of this and having a look at what Kingborough Council have been doing, and the work that the Director has done on this is excellent. I think it's quite important that the Huon Valley Council, and all councils ideally, have some sort of caretaker policy to allow for cleaner transitions during election periods. So I think this is a really excellent policy, and well done for all the work involved.
Thank you for that. Do I have any other councillor to make a question or a statement? None online? Okay. I'm under the same as you, Councillor Prince, that I had the phone call and from local government and so forth, and we'd already had ours done. So, yeah, well done to the Director and his department for that. Okay, so as there is... Oh, Councillor Prince, do you want to close? Okay. As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Mayor.
All Mayor.
That's all present and the motion is carried. Agenda item number 15.018/22, Local Government Association of Tasmania General Meeting Motion. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Clark. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor Clark, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Acting Mayor, yes, I do wish to speak to this. I've moved this motion in the hope that this council can gain support from all councils in Tasmania through LGAT regarding the way the Huon Valley have been seriously impacted by the LPS, especially in regard to the Landscape Conservation Zone and the Agriculture Zone. I feel very strongly about this. I mean, what government has the right to take away a person's value of their land? Some landowners have been planning to sell parts of their land in their retirement. No one has the right to take away a person's livelihood. Who does that? And who can justify the stress that's caused thousands of Huon Valley community? The LPS changes have also put stress on council staff and who have done their best to explain the changes and to assist them with submissions. We as councillors, therefore, must try to change and rectify this disaster thrust upon us by well-meaning planners and the Tasmanian Planning Commission. With all due respect to the planners who made these changes, it appears there was no strategic plan to go by and very little strategic direction as to the changes that some planners have made. The Huon Valley has over 3,000 titles impacted, as a previous speaker mentioned, and it has been changed to the LCZ zone, and other rural councils have had little or none changes to that zone. So I'm aware it will not be easy to rectify this, but I believe we must take steps towards reassuring our community that we'll do whatever we can to seek a full review of the state planning provisions as mentioned in this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Yes, Councillor O'May.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to add a rider to Councillor Clark's comments there. One thing that she's left out there is the stress to our budget. I believe is well worth noting. It's a cost to the Huon Valley ratepayer to be involved in this controversy. And the second thing I believe that you should have added there was the fact not only taken away the rights of people's land by changing the zoning, but taking away the right of use for the current users of the land in how they go about their day-to-day work, and it's creating a lot of stress for a lot of people and conflict with council. So I'd just like to add those words if I may. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'May. Do we have any other councillors that would wish to speak on this? Yes, Councillor Lovell. Yes, I'll go Councillor Lovell first. Yes.
Through you, Mayor, I just want to say thank you, Councillor Clark, for putting this forward. I guess our concerns regarding it, and I think it's one step that we can take as councillors to get it looked at and get something done. So thank you for putting it forward.
Thank you, Councillor Lovell. Councillor Newell.
Yeah, look, I too just want to say well done to Councillor Clark. I mean, I also agree strongly with what Councillor O'May said. I mean, you know, you've got so much of Tasmania locked up, and then to be forced on private landowners to what they can and can't do with their own properties is nothing short of a disgrace. So I go along with it all the way with Councillor Clark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Councillor Clark, would you have any closing? Would you like to close?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just reiterate that it's not going to be an easy process. Whether LGAT will support us on this, I'm not sure, but at least we can try, because I've actually heard again today from several real estate agents who are having problems with folk that are really, really stressed out. But one particular lady and her husband bought a property here several years ago to retire here, a 50-acre block was zoned rural resource. They were coming down to build a house and live on it, and now it's been zoned to agriculture, and that land is virtually no good to them. So there is just a lot of stories out there. So I just hope we can do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I think I'd like to note the fact that you have raised that from the woe at the very beginning. So thank you for that. And you will be attending the AGM, yes? Okay. Agenda item number 17.007/22. there's the draft waste strategy, the amended recommendation. You're going to read out for me, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. The amended recommendation is that A, the report on the draft waste strategy be received and noted. B, the draft waste strategy included as attachment A to this report be retitled the Waste Avoidance and Resource Recovery Strategy and endorsed for implementation, subject to the following amendments. Include full content of public submissions, de-identified within the engagement report, stage 2. Add an additional objective and under an action under Goal 3 being Objective 3.3, regular community engagement on waste initiatives. And then 3.31, form a waste committee of community members to collaborate with council on waste initiatives, and this is to be achieved by June 2023. In Goal 3 under Objective 3.1 to replace the following: the waste transfer stations, 3.13, close Geeveston Waste Transfer Station, redirecting resources to and expanding opening hours of South Bridge Waste Transfer Station by June 2023, to the waste transfer stations 3.13, close Geeveston Waste Transfer Station, and to offset this service impact by extension of curbside collection service and or alternative household waste disposal options within Geeveston and expanding opening hours of Southbridge Waste Transfer Station. Again, to be the waste transfer station to be closed by June 23. The General Manager is authorised to finalise the Waste Avoidance and Resource Recovery Strategy, inclusive of a graphic design for publishing. A copy of the same document be made available to the public free of charge via Council's website and Customer Service Centre. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a councillor to move a motion to accept the amended recommendation? Councillor O'May. A seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor O'May, do you wish to speak to this amended motion? A recommendation?
Yes, Mayor. I just one question here that comes to mind. I just would like, was wondering if our General Manager can please expand on the graphic design portion of the proposal here.
Okay.
I'll hand that over to our Director, who I'm sure has some insight into what is planned for that.
Through you, Acting Mayor, Mark, it's simply to publish it as a community document, so elevate it from the Word document that we've left it in as we finalise, and put some graphic design consistent with other Huon Valley public-facing documents, a nice title, some imagery, etc. Modest designs.
Is there a great overall cost with that at all, is there? Or?
It's the design work itself is done in-house through our community services area. I don't have an estimate for the cost of that design at this point, but it will be modest.
And it'll be all on recycled paper or compostable sort of.
We don't intend printing. We don't intend printing copies of this. Obviously, some will be printed, but the document is for online publication, and of course, can then be printed.
No worries. That's all. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. Do I have any other comments? Yes. Yep. Okay. Councillor Lovell.
Just a few comments. I am quite concerned about the Geeveston site. I think there are a few issues that will result with that, and that's the dumping of rubbish, which we already know is happening, but I can see that may increase, and also stockpiling in people's yards, because there was that convenience in one of our major towns to have that site there. I do understand it has to close, but I am looking forward to what council can investigate and come up with that might support waste management in Geeston into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lovell. Councillor Prince?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to, I know the staff member that did a lot of this work no longer works with us, but still wanted to say thank you so much to all the effort and work that was put into it. And also, I'll probably have a few giggles every time I hear someone refer to the wars strategy. But no, it's very well done, so excellent work.
Councillor Newell?
No comment there. I'm happy with the proposal.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of things I'd like to congratulate the circular economy and Jerry for coming forward with the waste avoidance and resource recovery strategy. I think that it is exactly what it is meant to be about, and they do put so much work into this area, so thank you very much for that. And I'm with you too, Councillor Lovell. I've had lots of phone calls about the Geefton transfer station. I do understand the reasons for it. I too am concerned about the waste dumping that I know that might happen, but I think that the biggest thing that we can do as councillors is show people how to reduce that waste so they don't have it and eliminate it, so at least the size of it, so that they don't have as much to bring and on coming to Yornville, or whether it is collection on the service on the roadside, so curbside. So I'm looking forward, along with you, Councillor Lovell, on where we can move with this. So thank you. Okay, so yes, Councillor Clark.
Just before you close, I'd just like to say I too am disappointed that the waste transfer station at Geefton is closing, but I understand all the reasons why. I was a little bit disappointed that I wasn't aware that the community consultation was taking place, but I can read through all the documents and see that you have done a very good job of doing that, but people just don't understand. If they don't come and speak up or say anything, well, there's nothing you can do about it. So congratulations on doing that consultation. I also have a question, though, quickly would be for the Director of Infrastructure. What hours do you see the Southbridge extending to at this point?
Can we go through you, General Manager, to the Director?
Through you, General Manager and Acting Mayor. I don't know who I'm going through at this point. Councillor Clark, we're currently working through the business case of what those hours look like, but my intention would be to follow the community consult or the community feedback that we've received, one of which is particularly in opening hours of a morning. 10 a.m. is far too late, and particularly for commercial disposal. So we want to have a time that better supports trades. So whether that's 7:30 or 8 a.m. in the morning is where we'll be looking at Southbridge, and 5 days a week 5 days a week, and closure at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. So we're currently looking at what our budget can provide for, what the reallocation of resources from a closure of Geefton into Southbridge would look like, and what the rostering arrangements, etc., look like. But yeah, it would be a full-time operation at Southbridge, and that would provide the best bang for our buck for Valley users generally.
Thank you. That's all. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, have you got any closing? Oh, you've got something else to say?
If I could, Mayor. I totally agree with all the comments here tonight in regards to education in in how we should be reducing our waste, or really focusing on our younger generation, as they are the next generation that are really going to inherit a lot of the proposals. But I personally think, on top of that, that we also should be looking at a firmer level of compliance. Some people are just not going to conform to the laws as they stand, and I personally believe that council should have a firmer deterrent system for people that are deliberately dumping or going around the rules that are really there for the benefit of the community as a whole. So I'd just like to recommend that that we really have a very good look at some firmer form of compliance from council perspective, and how that is funded, whether it's funded through fines or whatever we can do with that. I'm not sure, or whether it's a dual role that somebody else can take up. I really think that we should seriously look into it. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Totally depends on the landowner of where the rubbish is, but, and I'm from all accounts, I believe Sustainable Timbers Tasmania has issued some fines of late. So, and I believe they've been doing tyre clean-up too through you, Director, because I think you've been getting them into the transfer station. Thank you. Yes.
Through you, Acting Mayor, just to respond to Councillor O'May, we are looking at increasing compliance in this area, but in the same way, increasing education. They have to go in parallel. And I just wanted to give a plug, I guess, for the EPA has an existing illegal dumping procedure that will be something that we'll be looking to educate the general community about much more broadly. There is a procedure in place. The EPA then work with our environmental health officers there's an established investigation procedure for compliance like this that is really quite successful in stamping out illegal dumping, and we have existing capacity to follow those type of complaints up. So we'll be educating the community to hopefully allow them to take some charge of, if they see this kind of behaviour, to start stamping it out and saying it's unacceptable in the valley.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I may just add another quick thing there. The other thing that I see a bit of a demise of, there was a very good scheme or operation going here a few years back called Tidy Towns, and it made everybody aware of keeping their community tidy and to be proud of where you live. I believe personally that's subsided in recent years, and if we can reinvigorate that mentality in some way or form, I think the whole community will benefit.
Thank you for that, Councillor O'May, and maybe that's something through the Director of Community Services that we could add that question to the town chats that we're going to have. So, thank you. Okay. So, any closing statement? No. Okay. Right. So, do I? Although as there was no councillor to speak against the motion, the amended motion, then I put the amended motion forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
For Mayor.
For Mayor.
That's all councillors, and the motion is carried. Agenda item number 17.008/22, Southern Tasmanian Regional Waste Authority. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Clark, do I have a seconder? Councillor O'May. Councillor Clark, do you have wish to speak on this motion?
No, Mayor, I think the only question I had was regarding the public consultation that Circular Economy did bring to light, but that's been answered, so yeah, I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other questions? Councillor Newell? No. Councillor Lovell?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all in the chambers and... Yep, that's all councillors and the motion is carried. As it's that time again to advise that council is about to go into closed council. Thank you for those who joined us in our gallery this evening and those of you who have took the time to watch the meeting online this evening. The next meeting of ordinary meeting of council is on Wednesday the 27th of July. We'll continue to record the meeting whilst moving into closed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Malcolm. Take your time. Thank you. Thank you. The recommendation 20.033/22 is that the meeting now be closed to the public as at 7:37. Pursuant to Regulation 15 of the Meeting Procedures Regulations to discuss the following matters. Confirmation of closed minutes, general reports, closed council, tabling of Code of Conduct Determination Report, tender TN 180 construction projects, Chieftain Town Hall Controlling Authority, Director appointment, insurance claim, indemnity dispute. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Yes, Councillor O'May. Seconder, Councillor Prince. Do you wish to speak to the motion,
No, Mayor.
Oh, right, okay. Pardon? Just a vote, is it? Yeah, okay. Okay, so, all those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
That's all councillors, and the motion is carried. In accordance with the Huon Valley Council's audio recording of council meeting policy, recording of the open session of the meeting ceased at